I want to talk about symmetrical Renkos and then also the pivot point beta group beta system that I've been working on, which is trying to evolve a system that I already use for some prop trading that I want to eventually incorporate into uh, trading, sets of 20 Apex accounts. Kind of, I guess you could say, after evolving what I'd been working with for a period of time and see if I can take it to the next level. One thing for sure is right away after the 8:32 time period. So we have that little time window of 8:30 to 8:32 where I don't like to initiate trade activity. So let's just roughly say that's 8 to 8:32. The vertical white colored line is the 8:32 time period. At that point, if my PPT indicator, my pivot point trading indicator, and it looks more of like a line, a green line and a red line. Ignore the other one. The other one's just on the chart. It's not really part of the system. I just happen to have it on there. If that's red and I have a down closing candle, the approach, let me use this drawing tool, is to initiate trade short. So at 8:32 or when the very first bar that closes in alignment with the indicator direction, the PPT, we're allowed, or the system will say go short. And then today, I would be done right about in here. So it got done really quick, one and done. That's one of the reasons I'm looking at this approach as another way of trading automated, just to try to decrease the total amount of trades per day to get done getting to a daily profit objective, which, it's smart. You dig and dig and dig and see, what direction can reduce the amount of trades per day, especially in a day where we had a pretty decent move leading up to the open, had some initial continuation. So basically it was a linear move right from pre-market through the open. And then we've had a bit of cyclical narrow oscillating range, and the range was getting more and more narrow until we got a little bit of a bounce, and then, same thing. So kind of there was a lot of institutional participation, and then it's really bled off as the morning progressed. So more along the lines of if I can get in and get done right away or as fast as possible, then that's kind of the objective. We're also using the system on different time frames, different optimized settings to just keep trading all day long. That's another objective that it could be used for on different settings than you would use for right out of the open. Today, it was one and done. I mean, it ripped and it hit a profit objective the way I was testing it. So then, if for some reason it didn't go far enough to get me done, let's say right here would get to my daily profit objective, it did go long. Right from right here, that long lost a little bit, then it went short, and then I definitely would have got what I needed. If I needed just a little bit extra, got a little bit of extension to negate the loss, and then a little extra, that one would hit. And with this style of approach, I absolutely, when I run this, will have a daily profit objective set. It's not like, well, if I see it beyond 700, I'm going to blip it out. No, with this approach, you want to set that. So let's say my objective was 1270 or 1250 on a 300K account. When it gets 1250, you're done. Or whatever you made in pre-market, because I was short the pre-market, plus, so let's say I made, $470 pre-market, then I got to add 1250 to that, put that in as my daily profit objective in the automation, and when it gets to whatever that total number is, then it blips out the trade. Or on the pivot point beta group automated system, And I asked the programmer, can I have it in there that it just tallies up the amount of profit per trade, per the system's trades, not the total P&L on the day. So he's looking into that versus, you having to figure out, hey, I'm turning on the system that will start taking trades at either 7:32 in the morning on a news day, U.S. Central Time, or 8:32. And I want just the system to keep trading until I get to my 1250 a day on a 300K account. So I'm waiting for an answer on that. I would think that should be workable. So whatever I said in the strategy is the P&L for that strategy, what it's making on its own, over and above any P&L I have on the day. Or, it might be better to just leave a total P&L because you might be upside down a little bit from some overnight trading before. So I just want to know if we can do that in NT8 with an automated strategy, not have it be a big complicated mess. So one benefit to this approach, especially using a more symmetrical Renko, is to right away be able to take a trade at 8:32, commit to a direction based upon either, and I'm going two directions with the beta group. Direction one is just using the Renko itself. So that's direction one, just using the Renko itself, the shape of the Renko when we have X amount of bars and we initiate trade and we stay in it till we have X amount of bars in the opposite direction. That would be done on a different Renko setting and definitely much higher time frame. This is a pretty low time frame that I'm on for that approach. For in conjunction with the other option, which is a indicator reading the Renko approach. So option one is just having the automation set, as long as the candles are up, keep me long. If I have X amount of candles down, flatten out the long, now I'm short. So in the pivot point beta that I'm going to be working on with the group, the beta group, and we're working to have the first strategy with this dual mode available to a very small beta group tomorrow. That's the two directions we're going in. And then what I'm going to do, as I mentioned before to the Algo IQ group, I'm going to take the data out of working with a small beta group and going in both directions. And first of all, vetting out which one of 2 to 3 Renko bar types is the best. I'm pretty sure this PPT indicator I have, the solid red line, is going to ultimately be the best one tied to reading the bar types for the indicator approach. It has a lot of multiple axis of adjustability, and it's really, really good. Matter of fact, I feel bad for the beta group. I sent them a 20-minute long bring your popcorn video last night, and I went through all kinds of trade setups, more talking about the indicator side, but also talking about just the Renko flips side of things. And some of the settings I'm coming up with are just so dialed in. So I'm really glad I'm spending some focused time going down this path, because ultimately I can take the data out of vetting out both of these directions, and I'll show you how I can tie it into what we're doing with the AIQ1 indicator. So where that ties in perfectly with the AIQ1 indicator is when I see what's the best of the best symmetrical Renko and some really good settings on a wide range of instruments and a wide range of time frames, then we can use that same Renko. I can say, hey, Algo IQ group, go get this Renko from this vendor, or we'll eventually just mimic whatever some other vendor's doing and build it for ourselves. And then you can put it on a chart, run the AIQ1 indicator, and we'll be able to optimize then settings where we can trade dot to dot, kind of doing the same thing we're going to be doing that I'm doing with the pivot point beta group. So that approach can be translated, from what I'm doing with the very focused pivot point approach vetting out the use of symmetrical Renkos for automated trading with a small group, then taking that data and then running the AIQ1 indicator. And on certain settings, especially when I bring in a little bit of the step smoothing, that's part of the indicator. And that's why I added it. I knew I could get some eventually really dialed in dot-to-dot trade setups. Because remember, this indicator has multiple moving average types. I can adjust the period. I can even adjust the phase. The phase is a very granular adjustability. I could take it out and nobody would miss it. But the step size, especially when I use MA2, you can use it with MA1. I can get some very clean single dot to single dot at key pivot points. It already does it fine with like Ninja Renko or Unirenko or some of the other ones, but I'm going to be taking data specifically from what I'm doing with the pivot point beta group and then translating that information over to, oh, here's a way we can take the AIQ1 indicator, looking at that kind of Renko, and here's some really good Renko settings that we know are working with the pivot point system approach, and it should translate very well. And then with the dots, the dots can be captured by third-party tools for automated trading. So, and then I can go look at, obviously, too, mom signals reading that kind of Renko. I never spent a lot of time with the scalp dots or the mom signals on symmetrical Renkos. I just kind of used something that had a little bit of an offset, but, that can be an evolution of what we're already doing. Now, last night I was watching the market when I see these pumps in the overnight session. See these pumps that are pretty much out of nowhere on no real news, just, oh, maybe the government is going to open and all that garbage. It's just, soon as I saw we got a key level sweep, I played short side last night. I ran the automation and I had 2 hits. I had one here, and then when I heard the beep, I ran over and just blipped out that trade. Had the strategy back on, and then it caught that wondrous move. I mean, I was in the move pre-market, through the open, and then somewhere in this area price on one of the beeps I heard. Yeah, it must have been that one. I blipped it out. Now this one, this account, I was in some pre-market too. And then I gave a little bit back in some of the chop this morning. Because remember, the market opened right in here, so we didn't have any signals out of the open. It remained pretty linear. But I remember right here, there was a loss on the first trade. And then when we took the long from being short, as soon as I saw we were, covering what I lost there, I just left it in short only mode for a bit. So I caught one short, and then it stayed in that short, made a little extra, and I shut it down. But I did pretty darn good on that move and that move last night. That was the big one. So level sweep, pretty big pump last night in the Asian session going into the EU market session. I mean, look at that. It's a pretty significant, there we are trading at 10-ish in the morning yesterday, coming into end of day and a holiday, it got pumped, so I wasn't surprised. And then in the overnight session, they hit it once, twice, and then one last little move, but we did have a key level sweep. So then I'm like, okay, I'm in short mode. I'll show you where price was in relation to the bands too when this was happening last night. And I was up till 1 in the morning working on programming stuff. And there we have it. Level sweep. Outside of the bands. Boom, boom. And an M pattern. So I hit that hard last night. Okay, so if you have any questions on anything and, continue to work on more goodies that we can eventually incorporate into what we're doing with the Algo IQ program, just hit me up at info@gridalgo.com. You guys all have a great day.